Hello, good evening. So today we had to say goodbye to one of our menagerie, one of our family. We had a little corn snake named Jeff, the dude, who is very chill for a corn snake, by which I mean he was not chill at all, but for a corn snake he was pretty chill. The little guy got sick or injured or something. We don't know exactly what happened, but he was declining and declining, and eventually we decided today that it was time to take him to the vet and um, uh, have him put down. So he was my buddy for quite a long time. He was a really cool little snake, and I miss him a lot. So what I'm gonna do, I have my little scrapbook. This is something that my Aunt Judy made. She was an artist who would create these. Well, she created a lot of things, and she taught me a lot about what I know. She passed away in August of this year, or of 2023, and she used to make these books, and they're just fun things. They've got so many just different hidden things in there that you can like put little notes and things in. There are just so many little pockets, and so I've been very slowly filling it up with stuff, and I think I'm gonna put a thing to Jeff, a little mini Jeff, in this little envelope here with its it's a little envelope, and it's got a little little window in it, and I'll just put a little mini Jeff in there. So we're gonna make the mini Jeff. I'm gonna make him out of paper because that's what's gonna go really well in this little book. I'm gonna start with a digital image. I'm gonna cut him out with my Cricut machine back there and put him together, and we'll see how he turns out. So here I'm working with Adobe Illustrator. The first thing I try to do is draw that picture that I showed you a moment ago freehand. It doesn't work very well. So I decide to open up the actual picture, the photograph that I want to be working from and using as a base shape in Illustrator. And I'm not going to be using this per se. I'm just going to use it to trace from. I try to use Illustrator to convert it to its outlines, but that doesn't work very well. So what I end up doing is creating a new layer and just tracing it freehand with my Apple Pencil. I'm working on my iPad here at the moment, which makes a very good drawing pad. And I'm just trying to I'm not worried about getting it photo perfect. What I intend to do with him is put him on a piece of paper that's going to fit in a 5.5 by 4.5 piece of little envelope. So he doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to look vaguely snake-like. Enough that he's gonna look nice in that small format as a paper cutout. So while I'm working with him on a 8.5 by 11 inch paper here, he's not going to stay that big. So next thing I do is try and get him made into a live paint object. The purpose of doing that is to turn all these little bits that look like things that you ought to be able to color in into a form that they can be colored in. That's not how you do it. Half of what I do is trial and error. It makes me look like I know what I'm doing, but I really don't. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is just go in by hand and edit these paths. At this point, I'm just cleaning things up, joining paths, making shapes that are contiguous shapes, because that's going to make things a little easier for me on the back end. Here again, we're working on some trial and error as I attempt very hard to remember how to do anything with live paint. Takes a little while. I think I spent about half an hour on this before conceding defeat and looking up the help file. Making it into a live paint object was easy. Finding the correct tool to fill in the resulting regions was less easy, but then as soon as I did it, it became much easier. So now we have the paint bucket having filled in what I'm going to now save as an SVG format and pull into the Cricut Design Space to be 3 sheets of paper. The first sheet is going to be our background, which I'm going to write on with the pen tool. The second sheet is the snake body, which is going to be in orange, and the third sheet is going to be the details in red. Now, the Cricut Design Space doesn't, I mean, as you can see, it's totally different colors than what I'm ultimately going to be using, because the Cricut Design Space doesn't really know what colors you're putting into the machine, and it doesn't really care either. So I just use something that's going to contrast and give me at least some idea of what I'm doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is go and get rid of some extraneous cuts here. The branch cuts that it's got are, well, the very first thing I'm going to do is size it the way I want it. But the branch cuts on there are going to be, I mean, they're just for reference for me from when I was drawing the thing. And so I'm going to get rid of those cuts. I'm going to put in some text, which currently is 72 point font size. That's an inch tall, which is entirely too large. But I'll use it that big to figure out exactly what font I'm going to use. That one doesn't have numbers, which is kind of a problem. Let's try a different one. And make it a little bit smaller. That's better. And we're going to tell it that we're using the pen, not cutting it. And here we go with getting rid of some of those extraneous cuts. And then when I pull in an SVG file, that's the open source vector graphics format, because Cricut doesn't talk well with Adobe products. But I pull in an SVG file and you can see it has all these very random cuts in very random order. So what I end up doing to have 2 sheets of paper and not some random number of sheets of paper is I pull all the cuts that belong on my orange sheet of paper down into their area, and all the cuts that belong on my red sheet of paper in their area. And that way when I go, and then I attach all of them, or each of them together, and that way when I go into the make screen, there's my background with the pen, there's my snake body on orange, and there's my details that I'm going to put on red. And like I said, it doesn't matter that the program thinks I'm using black and red paper, because I'm just going to load up the correct colors. Alright, I think I'll put this thing on this cute little speckly paper as a background. I'm going to reuse some paper that I used before when I was making things for Christmas. It goes on my horrifyingly dirty mat here. I'm just going to light it up. The first thing I'm going to work on is the background. And I just have it going. Just going to have it do a little bit of writing on it. I'm going to load the pen. It's connecting. Start. I can't figure out what order it does these things in. The paper I'm using is Astrobrite's. It is a 65-pound cardstock. Actually, a 75-pound cardstock. No, it isn't. It's 65-pound cardstock, 75 sheets of it. Sorry. So it's very lightweight cardstock, but it's working really well for a lot of these little inexpensive and colorful projects that I'm making. Readily available. Loading up the next piece of paper, which is our snake body. And for this I'm using, once again, a recycled sheet. But we had a little orange snack. So we're going to do him in orange. Excuse me. Hey, look at that. That's going to be some red detailing, and I think I've actually got some red paper I can recycle to do that red detailing on. The other thing that I'm going to do, as you'll recall, my original design had a little bit of a branch on it. That little bit of a branch is not in this cutout because of the way I designed it. I'm just gonna cut out a branch freeform. And it's times like this that I wish I had more than one mat. Because now, I'll take a moment to detach our guy here. Very, very carefully. I have a tool that's going to help me. Something about the way that he was put together, it really, really, really wanted to put the, let's see, so there's that part of his body, we've got his little tail, get here. And then we've got his head and body that has his, oh boy. This was very poorly designed. Well, it's going to take some very careful putting together. That's all there is to it. Because as you can see, I don't know if you can, but it's all the individual little pieces wanted to be cut out. This is most irritating to the point that I might do it again. No, it's working, I think. I'm just gonna have to be really careful with it. Alright. So there's that guy. Excuse me. Load up final bit. Remove my little pieces of snick out of the way. All right. And now I have a line of little red spots. Now it's time to put it all together. Okay, what do we have here? I have become adhered to the mat, and now things are no longer neat. Okay, that's fantastic. So and then these little guys work. It's gonna be like putting together a puzzle. Good times. So we're just gonna start with the easy part. Oh, this is gonna be fun for my pneumonia. A long time ago, I learned the trick for putting on rubber cement. You put on a thin layer on both sides of what you're trying to rubber cement, and you let it dry. And then you can stick it on. And it sticks really tightly. think I'm going to keep it a little bit loose, sinuous. He's a pretty loose and sinuous little guy. There we go. Now we have a cute little memory card.